after what is healthy for us and what is not. And so the NICE guidelines looked at the effectiveness of alternative treatments compared with no treatments, and then also the treatment of HRT. So they looked at kind of lots of things, either alternative therapies, someone with no treatment, and someone on HRT. And they found that although alternative therapies may be effective, it is not entirely risk-free, and little information is available about the effectiveness of some of the preparations that's sort of sold as HRT products. There are some medical reasons for people not to use HRT. So I do want to stress that. Again, your GP will guide you through that. And they will guide you through if alternative therapies or some additional medication might be the way forward for you. So the reasons why people might not be able to use HRT is if you had a recent heart attack or you've got poorly controlled angina, if you had a recent blood clot in your lung or your leg, so active womb or breast cancer, pregnancy, undiagnosed vaginal bleeding. So if you started bleeding while you have stopped, or you're bleeding sort of very irregular or for long periods, or it's accompanied by a lot of pain. Newly diagnosed or uncontrolled high blood pressure, or severe or active liver disease with abnormal liver function test results. So again, when you feel like you've got these signs and symptoms, go speak to your GP and they will make sure that you are on the best treatment plan. So in short, the message is don't just opt for alternative therapies before discussing the options with your GP. This next slide goes through different kind of complementary therapies that's out there and that's been deemed to work. So some things that you could consider, maybe on top of HRT, and for some with your GP's blessing as an alternative to HRT. So the first one here is cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT can be used, and it's really great news because CBT has been shown that it can alleviate low mood and anxiety, which arises as a result from the menopause. So some people can feel quite anxious. And it's also realized that CBT can improve things like hot flushes and night sweats. It's recommended that a CBT approach combines relaxation techniques, sleep hygiene, so helping you to sleep better, and teaching you or learning how to take a more positive attitude towards the menopause challenge. CBT is now a recommended treatment option for anxiety as well. And anxiety is often experienced during perimenopause or menopause. It may also improve things like hot flushes and the reduction in sleep and stress problems. So CBT is definitely something that you can try. Herbal treatments, look out for the THR logo, which stands for Traditional Herbal Medicines. Sorry, I'm just opening all this. I'm just noticing that there's on their sort of herbal treatment. So that's the logo. It stands for THR, which is Traditional Herbal Medicines. So please look out for that logo because products with this logo on has actually been approved. And you can be sure that the product is used at the correct dosage. It's of a high quality and it's contains suitable product information. So basically, you're going to spend your money better if you look out for that logo. Again, check with your GP or your pharmacist before taking any herbal treatments, especially if you're on other medications for other things, because herbal treatments can often mix in with other medication or prescription medications. We also get something called black cohosh. This is a North American traditional herb that can be used to decrease hot flushes, although it's been proven that it doesn't work as well as HRT. So keep in mind, it doesn't actually affect things like anxiety or low mood, and it can actually interact with other medication as well. So again, speak to your GP or pharmacist if you're thinking about using that. St. John's Wort, again, the good news is that St. John's Wort was shown to have benefits in relieving things like hot flushes and night sweats. It can actually help with mood as well. But it shouldn't be used in people with a high risk of breast cancer or a history of breast cancer. And it can actually interfere with prescription medication as well. So please talk to your healthcare provider or your GP pharmacist around that. Since St. John's Wort is also contraindicated if you're using tamoxifen. So tamoxifen is a drug that people use after they've had breast cancer. So please be careful not to just go onto these herbal remedies without speaking to someone before it. Isoflavonones and soy products. In some cultures, this is very commonly eaten and can be found in soy products. I do have a slide later on of where in our diet can we find some of these products. But in short, it's kind of things like lentils, beans, peas, plant proteins like tofu or soy and soya beans. And it's better to eat it from your diet rather than taking a supplement, because some of these can be bought as supplements as well. But it's best to just increase those kind of products in your diet. Acupuncture. Women often report a reduction of hot flushes and night sweats with acupuncture, although clinical trials disappointingly show no difference between people having acupuncture and not. So there is a great placebo effect. So people who is that way inclined feels better after that. So it's definitely worth a try and can certainly not cause any harm. So we also get non-hormonal prescribed medication. So this is specifically for people who can't take HRT for a medical reason. So I'll just go quickly through them. The first one is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRI. The types of medication is called like fluoxetine, paroxetine, citalopram, sertraline, and venlafaxine. These medications are normally for to treat depression and anxiety. And some of these medications can improve hot flushes in some women too. Venlafaxine is also an option and is preferred treatment for breast cancer survivors who take tamoxifen. So if you can't take HRT because of that, venlafaxine would be your second choice. It can improve hot flushes, fatigue, mental health, and sleep disturbances. These medications do have side effects though, like all medications do. Things that people may experience is dry mouth, nausea, constipation, and appetite problems, which are much commoner as you go up and into a higher dosages of this medication. It can also affect your libido or your sex drive. And this is something that perhaps when you're in the menopause, you don't want additional stress on your sex drive. So do talk to your doctor if about everything around this medication, if that is an option for you. The other one is gamma-aminobutyric acid, or gabapentin. Gabapentin is often used for pain management. So it can actually also improve flushes and sweats, night sweats. Side effects of that is sleepiness or dizziness, weight gain, again, something unwanted side effect we might not want. Feeling a bit of a dry mouth. And again, these symptoms are more noticeable at a higher dosage. A smaller amount is recommended, and we'd recommend that the GP gradually increase that. But it does help sleep, and it can help hot flushes and night sweats. So it does have a positive there as well. The last drug that a GP might consider is clonidine. So this is an antihypertensive, so a blood pressure lowering drug. And it might not be suitable for people who struggles with a low blood pressure in any case. It can help with hot flushes, but studies are a bit controversial on that as well. So it helps for some, and for others, it doesn't help at all. It seems to be like a 50-50 chance if it's going to make a difference for you or not. So that's kind of the alternative therapies out there that you could go for. And like I said, prescribed medications if you can't have HRT for whatever reason. Your GP will look into this. So menopause and weight gain. I'm just recapping really about why we gain weight. So every year over the age of 40, our basal metabolic rate, so that's the rate at which we burn calories, slows down. So if you go over the age of 40, your basal metabolic rate starts to slow down, which means that if we continue to eat in the same way as we did, we will probably put on about a pound every year. Many women feel that their weight gets harder to manage as they get older. We often approach menopause already struggling with our weight, and then it just gets even harder when we get to menopause. There are many reasons for the weight gain, and it's definitely not because you are lazy or just eat too much. So let's just look at those reasons. One of them is fluctuating estrogen levels. So during the menopause, this can lead to weight gain as it affects the way we store fat. This is because your fat cells can produce estrogen, which offer the body a safety net if it's running low of estrogen. Hence, your body is quite keen to have extra fat stores around because then it can have access to extra estrogen levels. Low progesterone levels are linked with water retention. Though this doesn't result in weight gain, it does make you feel quite uncomfortable in your clothes. Testosterone might be higher at the start of menopause, and this will cause fat accumulation, especially around your waist rather than around your hips. So that's when we get this typical middle-age spread because of testosterone. Another factor is an increase in insulin resistance, making our body store rather than burn calories. It also changes where we store fat, and normally this is around the waist as well. For example, if you eat 1,000 calories, your body would burn 700 calories for energy and store 300 calories as fat. But after the menopause or during the menopause, it's almost the other way around, where your body will store 700 calories and burn 300 calories. So we're going to store a lot more calories during and after menopause than you would have before menopause, leading to weight gain. So our weight distribution, I've already alluded to this, you get much more of a weight distribution around your waist. So when women gain weight after the menopause, the distribution of where it settles alter. An extra pound before the premenopause will settle evenly over the hips and the bottom and the thighs and your arms. But after the menopause, it all goes around the middle, hence the term middle-age spread or midriff. A fairly modest gain then of weight when it sits around your middle might mean that you just cannot fasten your jeans. So it does really affect your dress size quite dramatically. Muscle mass, women's muscle mass declines at the menopause, and this causes a further drop in our basal metabolic rate. So muscles is very efficient at burning calories. That's why it's worth doing resistant exercises, especially if we're going through the menopause. So really building up our muscles in our body. An increase of 2 kilograms of muscles results in a 10% increase in basal metabolic rate. So we're burning more calories if we have more muscles around. Developing a strong and toned muscles will make your clothes fit better, and it will make you feel better as well. So even though you might not weigh less, you will fit in your clothes or a smaller size clothes. The psychological impact of menopause can really lead to weight gain as well. So if you're feeling low, you're feeling anxious, and you don't have a lot of energy, it doesn't leave you wanting to go for a walk or cooking healthy, is it? So psychological impact can really affect the way we eat, what we eat, when we eat. So it's really important to keep that in mind as well. There's a fact though, so evidence suggests that HRT does not actually lead to weight gain. A small number of women develop some fluid retention, but this is normally transient. So it's there in the beginning and then it goes away. So it normally goes away out in a month or two after starting on HRT. So yeah, there's a lot of misconception that using HRT will lead to weight gain, where it's actually the lack of estrogen that leads to the weight gain. So eating wise, what do we do when we think about eating? So I've put up here a slide about the Eat Well guide. I'm not going to expand a lot on that because I'm sure you have seen the Eat Well guide. I've also put on the right-hand side something we call the Easy Plate. So in ABL Health, we really promote the Easy Plate to help us to get our portions right, really, for what we are eating. So a healthy diet should include 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. Try to include unrefined foods as much as possible rather than refined convenience food. So basically, trying to cook from scratch is a really good idea. Choose high fat or sugar containing foods in moderation. So not every day, and trying to avoid too much caffeine and alcohol as well. Being overweight is shown to worsen things like hot flashes and increase the risk of heart disease and diabetes as well. So losing weight can have a benefit on menopause and menopausal symptoms as well. So if we look at the Easy Plate, a really good way to do that is if you get your plate and you're about to put your food in, if you have half of your plate filled with vegetables or your salad, it means that there isn't a lot of space left for the protein food and carbohydrate foods. It's a really good way to make sure you do get enough fruit and veg in, or veg and salad in your diet. So let's look at some different approaches maybe to weight management. So we've got intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is it's really sort of an eating pattern that cycles between fasting and eating. And there's different cycles, and there's lots of information on the internet that you can find about this. I'd recommend trying out the 16-8 method. So that's when you fast for 16 hours and eat healthy food in an 8-hour window. And it's easy to do because you just stop eating perhaps at 7 o'clock at night, and then go to bed, sleep and whatever. And by the next morning between 11 and 12, you can have your first meal. So that's an approach that has been shown to be beneficial for people going through the menopause. So please look into that more if you're thinking that's something you want to try out. The other approach to weight management in intermittent fasting is the 5-2 diet plan. I'm sure you've heard about it. Michael Mosley made this really popular, but it was actually designed and written by a dietitian for people who had breast cancer, and they've shown that leads to weight loss, but also remission of breast cancer or reduction in getting breast cancer again. So it consists of having 5 days of eating a healthy, balanced diet and 2 days in a week of eating a very low-calorie diet, so approximately 500 calories a day. There's a lot of guidance out there on the internet, lots of free stuff, lots of good books about the 5-2 diet. So again, if you want to give this a go, it is more seen as a lifestyle approach, intermittent fasting, rather than a diet. So it's not something that's a quick fix that I do from Monday to Friday, and on a weekend I do what I want. It is something that you adopt, and that's the way you're going to eat now and in the future as well. Another approach is kind of cutting down on carbs and having a lower GI intake. So GI is a glycemic index, and that is basically how quickly does carbohydrate food turn into glucose into your blood? How quick is that response? There is evidence to suggest that managing your blood glucose levels better can improve symptoms of menopause and aid weight loss. By cutting down on carbohydrate foods, you can control the amount of the circulating insulin in your body and keep your blood glucose at a lower level. So choosing smaller amount of starchy carbohydrates and those with a lower GI effect will help your blood glucose and actually help hunger as well. So you might not feel so hungry, so eating less, and therefore people can lose weight on this approach as well. So be mindful of sugary carbs. So sugary carbs are found in things like fruit juices, some really sweet fruit, sweets, of course, chocolate, jelly babies, those kind of things, sugary drinks. Naturally as well, like sugar and honey, it's found in that as well. This can cause quite a quick rise in our blood sugar. So if you follow that red line, and what happens then is your body releases quite a lot of insulin, because insulin is needed to get your glucose levels to fall down. So while you got a really quick rise, you then also get a really quick downward spiral. And when your blood sugars drops really quickly and low, it makes you feel like you need a sugar fix. So you might just go for something really sweet and sugary again to basically repeat that cycle. So every time you repeat that cycle, you've got loads of excess insulin in your body, which kind of continues to store fat inside your body cells. So try and break that habit. Watch out for that sweet and sugary food. Have it in moderation. Try and have it with other foods. So, have it like pudding after a meal, so it's not got such a great effect. And watch the portions of that. I've put a list down there of the carbohydrate foods and also which carbohydrate foods has got a lower GI to it. So it has this kind of red line effect of it. So it doesn't take your blood glucose up really quickly, really high. And so it keeps that really stable, meaning your insulin levels will be stable as well. So it's basically multigrains, seeded, whole grain, bread, oats, pita bread, chapatis, new potatoes if you have kind of the skins on them, because the skin decreases the GI load. Sweet potatoes and yam is a good choice as well. All pasta, if it don't overcook it, just have it al dente. So the longer you cook pasta, the softer it is, the quicker it releases into your bloodstream. Basmati rice is quite a good choice. Bulgur wheat, things like couscous, quinoa, barley. Breakfast cereals, we're looking at porridge, muesli, oat or bran-based cereals are really good choices. So try and include some of those food more regularly into your diet. So eating well, we can look at the Mediterranean diet principles. So Mediterranean diet is a really well-known diet. It can have a lot of benefits for you, as well as helping with menopause. It's heart healthy, so it really help your heart, and it's a good kind of a diet plan to follow. So it contains high amount of vegetables, nuts, beans, and it's quite high in things like olive oils. So please, again, if you don't know a lot about the Mediterranean diet, it's well worth looking into that to find out what is the kind of food that we advise people to eat on this. I've put down a menopause wheel, and the aim really of that is to show you that actually if you have a balanced diet, you include the fruit and vegetables, different colors, a rainbow of colors. You make sure you have some plant proteins, maybe once a week, have something like a vegetarian kind of meal, that you would probably get everything you need in your diet. And there's no need to take supplements or anything else to enhance your diet. So a little bit about plant estrogens. So I said I'll talk to you about that as well. So a lot of people in their culture would eat quite a lot of these foods already, and that's fantastic. So keep on doing that. But British white Caucasian people normally don't have a lot of plant estrogens in our diet. It can be quite useful in relieving some menopausal symptoms, and particularly hot flushes can be relieved by plant estrogens. So it's worth knowing that you can take 2 to 3 months of for the benefits of plant estrogens to be seen. So it's not something that happens quickly. So if you start having it, continue to have that more often before we see that beautiful results of that. So food containing plant estrogens are things like soya and linseed, so also really heart healthy. So it's worth including calcium-rich soy products like soya milk, soya yogurts, linseed bread, edamame beans is quite a good one. Edamame beans goes quite well in salads. And you want to include some of these products 2 to 3 times in a day. So for instance, if you swap to soy milk, you use that all through the day, and that can really sort of have that benefits over time. The other thing we can consider is gut-friendly foods. So bloating and cramps and other IBS like symptoms can happen during perimenopause and menopause. So looking after your gut health can help. Research is revealing more information about the importance of a healthy gut and its influences on hormone health and our emotional well-being. So there's quite a lot of research going on around that at the moment. So eating a diet high in fiber, so everything that I've had on that slide on low GI foods is normally high in fiber. So this encourages growth and of the friendly bacteria in our gut. And it can really help with our energy levels, our immunity, so making us strong so we can fight off sort of illnesses. And it can help with weight maintenance as well. Healthy bacteria also plays a role in the production of serotonin. So serotonin is our happy hormones, and it can help us to feel good. So I'll just kind of split this up into prebiotics and probiotics. So prebiotics stimulate the growth of good bacteria in our gut, and examples of that is found in foods like garlic, onions, asparagus, chicory, ginger, cabbage, beetroot, bananas, blueberries, and apples. So those are really good prebiotic foods. So probiotic contains live bacteria and yeasts, which are believed to help restore the natural balance in of our bacteria in our gut. So having equal amount good and bad bacteria, or healthy and unhealthy bacteria in our gut. So some examples of that are probiotic foods. And a lot of fermented foods are very high in probiotics. So kefir, live yogurt, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, natto, and live apple cider vinegar. So these foods with these funny names, if you don't know them, it's basically fermented food. So fermented cabbage or fermented soybeans, which a lot of nations, like especially Polish people, would eat quite a lot of fermented products. So quite try it out. A lot of people like things like sauerkraut. So if you've never tried it, I would really encourage you to see if you can get your hands on some and try it. You can actually buy probiotics in a supplement, and it's called Lactobacillus acidophilus. So you can buy it at any sort of shop. Hollands and Barrett's, for instance, it's a good shop where you can get it at. The price can vary from 5 quid to 40 quid. So depending on what you want, what your budget is. So ask for advice there. But again, if you can include these foods in your diet, you can save yourself that money and get it in the natural way. Let's move on to the importance of bone health. So for those who were at the first seminar, we spoke a lot about bone health and how menopause can affect it. So from the age of 35, we slowly lose calcium from our bones. Ensure your diet contains plenty of calcium and vitamin D. This is not only essential for your bone health, but it will also help to stabilize your emotions and your mood as well, which is fantastic. During the menopause, an adequate amount of daily calcium intake is especially important to help protect and maintain bone density as bone loss accelerates as we go through menopause. Losing estrogen during the menopause, increasing the rate of calcium loss from our bones, which can increase the risk of things like osteoporosis. Taking HRT helps to maintain estrogen levels and protect bone health. There are also lots of nutrients that helps to keep our bones healthy. So it's important to have a balanced diet. Choose a variety of foods, like we already said, and consume plenty of fruit and vegetables and dairy products, as they are a good source of calcium. On the next slide, I've just put added examples of calcium. So for instance, for me, I'm allergic to milk products, so I don't have milk products in my diary. So, including things like milk would be a no-no for me. So, but there's other dairy products, so cheese, yogurt. You can also get it from fish, pilchards and sardines, especially if you have that little bones in them. Tinned salmon, tinned tuna and oil is also quite high in calcium. Vegetables, curly kale, okra, spinach, spring greens are high in calcium, so all the kind of green leafy veg. Pulses and beans, seeds and nuts like red kidney beans, tofu, green beans, sesame seeds, almonds, carbohydrates like bread and muesli, special K and ready bread is quite high in carbohydrates. And then fruit, dried apricots, figs, currants and mixed peels are quite high in calcium as well, olives and oranges. So there's plenty of non-dairy products where you can actually get calcium from. So some might wonder if you need to take a supplement for calcium. So it is recommended that if you do decide to take a supplement, so for instance, if you don't like any of those foods, don't go more than 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams of calcium a day. So that's your maximum. I would really encourage you to ask a pharmacist before you start taking calcium supplements so they can tell you what is the recommended amount for you. Other nutrients and minerals are, though, very important and we get that from a well-balanced diet where we have fresh fruit, vegetables, adequate protein and carbohydrate foods. So if we have a balanced, healthy diet, we shouldn't need to buy supplements. So I would recommend supplements for those people who really struggle to eat some of these foods and feel like they're not getting enough calcium in their diet. So the other part of bone health is vitamin D. So a lack of estrogen weakens your bones as you age. Therefore, vitamin D works to slow down and minimize this weakening process. Some studies have shown that vitamin D can also help to stabilize your emotions and moods, and it's widely considered to be the most important vitamin for menopausal women. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin that works in a different way from other vitamins. It works very similar to hormones, and it's naturally produced in the body from cholesterol, when your skin is exposed to the sun. Hence, it's sometimes called that sunshine vitamin. Vitamin D plays a role in our bone health as well. It promotes the absorption of calcium and phosphorus from your gut, and these nutrients help to keep our muscles stiff and strong, and our bones strong and healthy. Estrogen is a key hormone for protecting and maintaining bone density. Therefore, during the menopause, bone strength is lost because of that lack of estrogen. Vitamin D is important to minimize those loss and help the bones to absorb calcium and grow new bone tissue. So it's really important to have vitamin D. It's estimated that about a quarter of all adults in the UK do not get enough vitamin D. People more at risk of a lack of vitamin D are those whose lifestyle or jobs or abilities mean that they are predominantly indoors. So if you have an office job and you basically go to work in the dark and come home in the dark, you never see the sun, then you are at higher risk of a vitamin D deficiency. Older skin makes less vitamin D, so especially if you're older than the age of 65. And darker skin takes longer to produce the required amount of vitamin Ds. So those people from African, Caribbean, or South Asian backgrounds is also at a higher risk. Individuals who wear clothes that covers their skin fully for cultural reasons will also be at risk of not getting enough sun exposure to have the vitamin D they need. When vitamin D levels are very low, symptoms may include things like tiredness, weakness, muscles, and back and bone pain. You may also be prone to infections and have poorer skin healing. Your mood may be low, and you could be at risk of developing things like depression. If low vitamin D levels remain for years or even decades, you may be at a greater risk of conditions such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, weight gain, and cancer. So watch out for that symptoms of low vitamin D. Try and take a vitamin supplement, and if that doesn't disappear, it might be worth asking your GP to test your vitamin D levels. Many researchers believe that vitamin D is vital for healthy brain function, and studies suggest it might play an important role in regulating our mood and warding off things like anxiety and depression. It can reduce symptoms like hot flushes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, and poor concentration, which is part of menopause and perimenopause. So how much do I need? In the UK, it's recommended to have a vitamin D supplement on a daily basis. So please get your vitamin D supplements. I've seen them everywhere. I've even seen them in Aldi's and Little's, and it can cost as little as £1 for a month. So it's well worth taking that supplement. The NHS recommends 400 international units, which you'll find on the medication or on the supplements. So 400 international units per day. But some literature say if you're menopausal or perimenopausal, you can go much higher. So some people would say to 1,000 or even 2,000 international units. When I looked at that, some research say go up to 600. So again, something that you could perhaps discuss with your pharmacist when you go in again. There's also really good diet sources of vitamin D. So I did say it's a fat-soluble vitamin, so we normally get it in food that contains fat, so like oily fish, red meat, liver, egg, fortified foods like cereals, so you get fortified or additional vitamin D added to that food. Vegan options includes things like soy, almond milk, and yogurt, and vitamin D enriched products as well. So they put vitamin D in some vegan products too. Raw chanterelle mushrooms are a really good source. So for those mushroom fans out there, chanterelle mushrooms are a really good source of vitamin D. And of course, there's sun exposure. So if you can get about between 10 and 30 minutes in the sun on your skin between the times of 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, at least twice a week. So that's also a really good, easy way to top up your vitamin D levels. A little bit on caffeine and alcohol. So both caffeine and alcohol can make hot flushes worse and increase the risk of things like osteoporosis. It can also really affect your sleep. So caffeine is found in things like coffee, tea, even herbal teas, colas like Coke or Fizzy Pop, energy drinks, and things like chocolate. So you can swap to decaffeinated drinks, and that can help with the side effects. Alcohol, keep to sensible limits, so no more than 2 to 3 units per day. I hope you know what a unit is. Otherwise, NHS Choices or NHS website will tell you exactly what a unit look like. It's really a small glass of wine or one shot of like rum or whiskey. need alcohol. We do encourage people not to have more than 14 units of alcohol in a week. And that includes having 2 or 3 nights or days without alcohol. So nicely spread out and a period of in that week that you don't drink alcohol. Just for get back to coffee, so we don't have more than 400 milligrams of coffee in a day. So that's around 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. So if you go much more than that, you'll have too much caffeine. So, but watch out if you're having 4 or 5 cups of coffee and you have energy drinks and you have soft drinks, then that caffeine intake will go up. So just keep in mind the other food that contains caffeine as well. So alcohol can really affect your weight and also your sleep. So that's another reason why we want to keep that to that 14 units a week. If you do smoke, stopping smoking is really advised, because smoking really can increase your risk of developing things like heart disease, cancers, and osteoporosis, which going through perimenopause and menopause is already a risk. So if you feel brave and you can stop smoking, please contact the Stop Smoking Service. ABL Health do have a lot of stop smoking services in the area, so please ask around who your closest service provider is. Stopping smoking can also improve hot flushes. So there's another sort of plug onto stop smoking. Just a note there at the bottom, so spicy foods. So spicy foods, you're eating really spicy foods, you can have a hot flush, even if you're not perimenopausal. So watch how much spicy food you eat to minimize hot flushes there. Sleeping well. Sleeping well is a really great place to start. One of the most important building blocks to living a healthy and productive life is getting enough sleep every night. Unfortunately, for many perimenopausal and menopausal people, this is really elusive. It's an aspiration to sleep quite well. Sleep is not like your bank account. If you accumulate a debt after a few nights of poor sleep, you cannot make it up by paying in credit and having lots of sleep over the weekend or having a nap in the afternoon. So basically, you need to try and get a good routine and have a good sleep pattern most of the time to get the benefits. Reasons people may struggle to sleep are things like hot flushes, sweats, mental health changes, so nattering at night, things like anxiety and depression. A lack of sleep, for example, having 4 to 5 hours a night instead of having 7 to 8 hours a night, which is the recommendation, can have a very negative effect on us. It really affects the way your brain functions, and it exacerbates things like brain fog and memory difficulties. It can lower your immunity, making you much more susceptible to becoming ill. And it increases the risk of developing heart disease or cancer. So sleep is really important. How to improve your sleep. So I've just put a few tips on there, and hopefully you can take a few messages home from that. Follow a regular sleep schedule. So, if you try and go to bed at the same time and try to get up the next morning sort of at the same time. If you're working shifts, getting as much as a routine in your shift pattern as you can to help with your sleep. Avoid napping in the late afternoon or evening if you can, because this will just keep you awake at night. Developing a good bedtime routine. So some people might read a book, listen to some music, or listening to a book, or maybe having a nice warm bath or shower before bedtime, dimming the lights, putting off all the screens, and getting in bed. So screen time, I can't stress that enough. It's that blue light that really wakens up our brain. It produces melatonin, which tells our brain to wake up while we actually want to go to bed. Keep your bedroom at a really comfortable temperature, so not too hot, not too cold. Exercise at regular times. Avoid eating large meals. Stay away from the caffeine. Remember about alcohol. And if you're really struggling, magnesium supplements have shown to work for people who struggles with sleep. So it might be that you want to try magnesium supplements. So the next slide is around prioritizing movement. So I can't stress enough how important moving is, or regular moving or exercise. It's estimated that 40% of adult women in the UK don't get enough exercise, putting them at a risk of a raft of health problems, including things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and certain cancers. This figure is probably higher for menopausal people, and it is completely understandable, as your energy might be low, motivation might not be good, your mood might be low, and this doesn't really get you to want to go and do some movement. However, the benefits of regular exercises that raises your heart rate and moves you and impacts on your joints are too important to ignore. So it improves your bone health, exercise. Bones get stronger as you use them and give them work to do. So aim for a combination of sort of weight training and muscle strength exercises is a really good idea during this phase of your life. Maintain a healthy muscle mass. So if you lose muscle mass as you get older, and regular exercise can slow this down and even build some muscles back for you. If you do have a really good muscle mass in your body, so if you are muscular, it lowers your risk of falls and fractures as well. So you're looking after your health and your bones too. Exercise can also help your heart health. Going through the menopause puts you at greater risk of diseases of the heart and the blood vessels. So if you do not, especially if you don't take HRT. So regular exercise helps to maintain healthy cholesterol levels and to reduce the risk of high blood pressure. So it brings down your blood pressure naturally, and that improves your heart health and reduces your risk of getting heart disease. Exercise does help your mood. Exercise releases serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone, and it does make you feel good. It can help you de-stress, especially if you can go for a walk and talk with a friend. So you're not just exercising your body, but you're getting rid of all the junk that you might hold in your head, and getting rid of that and having a really good natter with a friend. It helps you to stay a healthy weight as well. So exercise can help you to lose weight, but it really actually helps to maintain the weight that you have lost, especially if you do regular exercise. And that combination between strength-based exercise and cardio exercise as well. So that's a really good way to help you to stay a healthy weight. So what do we mean by exercise? What is the amount that we need to do? So 150 minutes of moderate exercises, or 75 minutes per week of vigorous aerobic activity, things like maybe playing squash or playing a tennis match, alongside muscle strength workouts at least twice a week is what is recommended. So muscle strength doesn't mean you have to lift heavy weights. It could be a combination of things. Lifting weights is a really good way of doing that, or exercise belts is another way to do that. The type of workout is cardio, things like biking or cycling, running, swimming, and muscle strength is resistance bands, things like yoga, lifting weights, going into the gym and doing some strength-based training there. Really a big tip is choose exercise that you enjoy. If you don't want to go to the gym, don't make that your exercise. If you love doing some gardening, make sure you're not just planting some pansies over. Make sure you're pruning and cutting the grass and digging in and really getting your hands dirty when you're doing gardening. Things like brisk walking, riding your bike, or signing up to maybe a dance class and doing something fun or funny is a good way to do that as well. There's lots of exercises on the NHS website, which is all for free, and you can do that through watching someone on a screen. So there's lots of free stuff you can do as well. So please get moving. Prioritizing leisure time. So that's also really important. We know that going through perimenopause and menopause can really affect our mental health and our moods. So please take some time out and look after yourself as well. So spending time doing the things that you enjoy will have a benefit effect on your symptoms and how you are feeling. So making time and slotting that into your diary is important. Whether this is going for a long walk with a friend or spending some much needed time by yourself. So if you're alone and you like to just kind of having your own me time, then make sure you get that. Lying in the bath with a do not disturb sign on your door would be quite useful. Or throwing yourself into a hobby that you enjoy. It really gets your mind to sort of de-stress, and there's no additional demands on you, somewhere that you can get lost in what you're doing. These activities can be really important for your well-being and to help you to relax as well. You're more likely to stick to activities that you enjoy. And so please go back and think, what were the things that you normally enjoyed, and getting back into that. Managing our low mood and mood swings and lack of motivation is on my last slide. So the perimenopause and menopause can bring a host of changes to how we feel about yourself, your mood, your emotions, and your levels of motivation. You may not always be you might not have been someone who struggled with that or who struggled with anxiety, but now you find yourself worrying about things that you would never have worried about. It's really common to experience anxiety or low mood swings and a lack of interest or drive into doing things that you usually enjoy. While this is predominantly caused by a reduction in hormones, HRT can help with that. There are some other things that could help as well. We've already mentioned sleeping well, eating right, cut out smoking and drinking excessive alcohol, and watch the caffeine intake. Get out and doing some regular exercises and having some me time is important. Check in. Meditation, I don't know for you who's never tried that, meditation has been found to greatly improve symptoms associated with low mood, and it can lower our cortisol levels as well. The cortisol levels is our stress levels. This allows your body to produce more of the happy hormones such as serotonin and dopamine. This might only be 5 or 10 minutes. And if you can do it on a daily basis, that's really proven to be beneficial. Or checking in with yourself, just slowing down, saying no to people if it doesn't suit you, not being afraid to say no, taking time to breathe deeper and being aware of your emotions and surroundings. That's in short what meditation is. And there's some great apps and mindfulness apps out there that you can download. That's a lot of them are for free. So please look into that if you've never tried meditation. Meeting up. So see your friends, go out, spend time with your loved ones, do things that makes you feel good. Bonding with other people actually helps you to release your mood boosting hormones. Have a laugh. Go and see a really funny movie. Don't go and watch the guys that makes you sit at the edge of your chair. Laugh out loud. Laugh really reduces stress and increases that happy hormones. Get support. If you're feeling that you're doing all these things and you're not getting better, get support. For those people regularly struggling and really nothing you do makes you feel better, please go and talk to your GP or find a local counsellor to help you through it all. Make this a priority because it's really important to get back to the person that you used to be. Managing worries, anxiety and stress. So really just challenge your thoughts. Negative thoughts and worries can often take control of how we feel and what we think. When you find yourself having these thoughts, challenge them. Are they real? Are they true? Am I making it up? Am I making things worse than they should be? Slow down and breathe. Deep breathing really helps as well. Keep a note. So maybe a note of when you're feeling down, when you're feeling really stressed. Read back a diary could be really useful to kind of make sense of what's going on for you. And take a break. Maybe sometimes walking away from a situation is a really good idea, and it could get you feeling calmer and making you think a bit clearer about things, kind of responding to difficult situations rather than reacting to difficult situations is a good tip. So I'm just noticing the time. I did have a bit of a guided meditation to go through. It will take 2 minutes. Stevie, I don't know. What do you think? Should we have a go?
Yeah, I think given the topic and what you're talking about, it'd be nice to go through it. If it's just 2 minutes, that's fine, isn't it?
Okay. So this is really 2 minutes. I'll time it. So for those who's got kids to put in bed or a story to watch on the TV, I will stay within time. So I want you to begin and find a really comfortable position, either if you're sitting on your bed or lying down or sitting in a chair. Find a seated position that's comfortable for you. Feel rooted, safe, and comfortable enough through your seat. This guided meditation script will help you to feel less anxious. Once you're settled, close your eyes. Take a very deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Inhale for the count of 4. So inhale on 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Repeat that cycle. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that again. Try to keep your breathing at this very slow pace. As you inhale, imagine that you are breathing in calmness, peace, and strength. As you exhale, imagine that you are breathing out all of your anxiety, stress, and worries. There is nothing for you to worry about right now in this present moment. All there is to do in this moment is breathe. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your anxiety slip away with each exhale. If your mind drifts to feelings of worry, be mindful. Notice it without judgment, and then bring your attention back to your breath. You are strong. You can handle anything life throws at you. Notice how calm you feel as you sit and breathe. Breathing 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4. And slowly open your eyes and take the feeling of relaxation with you. I hope you enjoyed that. So I noticed there's a few questions and chats on there.
Yes, I think we've probably just got time for one question, Swanee. I feel a little bit sleepy now after that relaxation. Thank you. Maybe prepared. Okay, so there's a lady that's asked. She was prescribed HRT when she began the menopause, and it got rid of her symptoms, and her symptoms were really severe. but it caused migraines. So her estrogen was reduced, and then that's caused all of her menopause symptoms to come back. So she's just wondering, do you have any advice? Because she feels like her quality of life has decreased again.
Yeah, I guess it is going back to a healthcare professional. Sometimes it's finding the right doctor to talk to. So you could ask at your GP practice, who is the specialist or the doctor with a special interest in menopause, because there will be one at your GP service. So what I often find is if you just go and speak to your GP, that you might just go to your normal GP, they know sort of a little bit about it, put you on something, and that's it. But if you continue to have problems, please ask for a specialist. There is special menopause clinics as well. So if you can't take HRT or you're really struggling with menopausal symptoms and, like you say, your quality of life is just really poor, you can ask your GP to refer you to a specialist menopause clinic where you'll be seen by a specialist team. And hopefully some of these things I told you tonight about, if you put that into practice, might help as well. But I would encourage you to firstly speak to the GP in your practice with a specialist interest in menopause, because they will have all that sort of additional training and interest in helping you. If not, ask for a specialist referral to a menopause clinic. And I hope that will get you to a place where you can find yourself again.
Thanks, Tawani, and thank you to everybody for answering the poll. I think that's it now for questions, and that's all we've got time for today. But thanks everybody for coming, and thanks for commenting and sending your questions in. Feel free to add us on our socials, so at ABL Health for Facebook, and for Instagram it's at ABL Health 1. And you can find lots of videos, and the recordings of this session will be on our YouTube channel. So keep a lookout for those. We'll be posting the next topic of our next webinar shortly, and we'll keep you posted. But it's been lovely to see all of you. And thanks again, Tawani, for your expert advice as usual.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.